Let's talk about the investment tip of 2024 for the month of September. If we have not had the chance to meet yet, my name is Sean Derrick. Yes, I'm a real estate agent. I'm an investor, also a pastor. I love my local church here in Fredericksburg. Thanks for watching this. I hope you find value in it. All right, let's get back to talking about home lines of credit. So in my experience, I love home lines of credit. I think they are great. I think most homeowners should have one as long as they are a responsible human being. Now you might be thinking, why? Well, the reality is if you and I have ever sat down and had a conversation over coffee about potentially turning your home into a rental property, you know that I am going to encourage you to get a home line of credit. Now, one of the primary reasons is because home lines of credit are very easy-ish to get on primary residence, meaning the moment you turn your home into a rental property, it's no longer your primary residence, and it's very challenging to get a home line of credit on a rental property. So that's why I always encourage, get your line of credit on your primary residence when you can, because not to say that it's impossible to get a line of credit on a rental property. It's just, it's hard. When you find a bank that is willing to do it, usually it costs money up front. Usually they're shorter terms. You're not going to have it really all that long. And sometimes it just really doesn't make sense unless you've worked out the numbers to really see your return on investment is worth it to go that route. But primary residence, these things are beautiful. A home line of credit simply acts like a checking account. So you go to the bank, I'm happy to connect you with someone that I trust, and they're gonna do an appraisal on the home, and they're gonna lend potentially, everyone's different, right? But maybe up to about 90% of the value of the home. So just take what you owe on your balance, and you take 90% of your value of your home. Whatever that buffer is right there is most likely what you may be able to qualify for with having a line of credit. And let's just imagine that's $200,000. What they're gonna do, as long as you are approved for the loan, they're going to open up a checking account. It's a home line of credit account, but it looks like a checking account in their bank with $200,000 in it. Now, here's what's awesome. You don't pay anything on that until you actually strike a check. So the moment you write, let's say $200, then you're gonna be spending interest on that $200 until you pay it back. So that's why I started this conversation about saying, it's really important that you're a responsible human being. If you're a spender, don't go get a line of credit. If you really think you might go buy a boat, do not get a line of credit. If you're going to use that money for anything other than investing, then don't get it. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can invest, but you just have to know that you are going to be paying interest on that money for the time that you have it out. So why do I recommend my clients to get a line of credit if they're going to be turning their home into a rental property? Well, yes, I already told you, because it's a lot easier once it's a primary residence for you to get it. But the reality is one of the big objections for rental properties is simply, what if the HVAC goes out, right? They turn their home into a rental property, they need a new roof. Well, that is expensive. And to be honest, that's very challenging for that money to just come out of your personal finances, right? Because you haven't had the rental property that long, and you don't have an operating budget really set up. And so it can be a little bit more of an emergency fund in the event that you have to put some money into a home, in your rental home. But here's what's cool, is if you're putting money into your rental property, you're managing your asset. Meaning, as long as you keep that property long enough, it's gonna make that money back for you. So it can be a good positive return on your investment still, if you have to use some of your line of credit towards some of those repairs on an investment property. But the goal is not to. So when you own an investment property, really the goal is to simply have that cash flow, save up enough to be able to have an operating budget. My recommendation is you should have at least 4 months of your expenses as an emergency fund. And so it's just always sitting there. So let's say something weird goes on in the market and the renter leaves and you're sitting there for 4 months with no renter, you're okay, right? Like it's not affecting you. Or potentially you have something that goes wrong. Well, you got 4 months of emergency fund there, buffer, go spend it, and then take the positive cash flow and just save it back up. So my encouragement is to never really use the investment property money a lot until you have that operating budget. But that's one of those reasons why a home line of credit can help you actually protect yourself. Another way you can use your home line of credit is for flipping homes. I do that. So if you know my business, you know when I flip homes, I am typically going to people that I know and I'm giving them the opportunity to be the private investor, meaning they can just simply get a guaranteed return on their investment on the projects that I do. So they're not investing in on the equity or the profit play. They're just getting their interest like a bank. But the reality is if you have easy access to that money, you could jump in and maybe flip your own home. It's probably hard to find houses for $200,000, but let's just say you do, and you find one for $150,000, and you're like, oh my goodness, this opportunity just came my way. Well, you can go write a check for $150,000 and go buy that house right away with cash. So it gives you that. Now, don't do that uneducated. Let me know and I can help you, okay, so you don't lose money. But you get my point, right? There's a lot of opportunity and advantage to be able to jump on investment properties or flips when you have your equity liquidated sitting in a checking account. So we talked about investment properties, flips, and you could potentially actually invest that money as a hard money lender to somebody else. Now, lately, the last 2 years, that hasn't been a great play because the interest rates have been so high. And so, if you're paying, let's say 8% on your home line of credit and you're making 10%, I mean, that's not horrible. Money is money, right? But you're making like 2%. So again, not horrible, though it's not a huge return. But to be honest, the moment these interest rates start coming down, as we know here just yesterday, the Fed's lowered it 0.5% on the basis point, you might find yourself being able to have, I'll just use that $200,000 example again. If you have $200,000 in your home line of credit and you don't need it, then you could invest it with an investor to be able to make, just use 10% guarantee kind of scenario, all right? Well, if you're getting 10% and you're only paying, 6%, well, that's 4% you're making. You might as well. I mean, the reality is it's either sitting in your bank account doing nothing, literally, or you could actually have it making money for you, which is good. Another aspect to this is your own personal primary home renovations. Now, you need to be smart about this because when you do get a home line of credit, it is just interest only. So you're not paying down principal. So if you go spend $200,000 on home upgrades, you're going to be spending $200,000 of interest until maybe you refinance your whole loan back into one kind of scenario, right? So you want to be careful. You want to make sure that you're good with being able to afford that, but it does give you the flexibility to do it. Well, why would you want to do that? Well, how about if you're going to go sell your house, right? You ever think about that one? Like if you're going to go sell your house in the next year or two, do you want to renovate your kitchen like the week before you put the home on the market? Or do you want to maybe renovate the kitchen a year or two early so that you could enjoy it? Well, you might as well enjoy it. Well, if you have a home line of credit and you know you're going to pay that off anyways because you're going to sell your home, as long as you can afford the interest, you're not putting yourself in a hardship, then use it for the upgrades so that you can enjoy it. And then you're going to sell it. And you're going to be fine. Many times I am renovating homes for sellers because they don't have a lot of liquid cash, but they have a lot of cash in their equity, which is trapped right in their home. But if they just opened a home line of credit, then they would have access to that. And they wouldn't have to pay me interest on the loan that I give them to be able to renovate their home when I then get paid back at closing. Do you guys see the many opportunities that you have? So I kind of feel like I've been talking a long time, so I'm going to end. But if you have used a home line of credit in a positive way that has made you money, I'd love for you to comment. I'd love to kind of hear what that was like for you. Or maybe you have a lesson learned on, hey, don't do this. I had a home line of credit and I did this. Don't do it. Let's learn from each other. All right, that was my investment tip for September 2024. You can always hit me up. Let me know if you have questions. If you want to chat, buy me a cup of coffee. We can always talk more about investing. God bless.